no, no, no. No. This is not the right one.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, usually it's in the cloud. That's okay.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome to our second session of Introduction to Tantra. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you to all the people helping me to support. Thank you so much. Great. Okay. We will continue from last week. And we're just going to start with meditation and setting our motivation, directing our mind in the most advantageous direction, most positive direction. And that also is a foundation for us to practice Tantra in the future. So just sit comfortably. You can absolutely sit in a chair if you have your feet straight down. The main thing is you want to feel that extension for the spine. Extension for the spine as if your sides are long. Just make sure you're comfortable. And in your own practice, feel free to adjust the heights of cushions, the types of cushions you use, chairs. You want to find that comfortable nest for your internal practice. And let us lightly close our eyes. Those eyes are focused towards the tip of your nose or the floor in the space in front of you. And just allow a natural, normal breath to flow through your system. And imagine with every inhalation, we're bringing in space to any tense places we are feeling in our bodies, like our neck and shoulders, maybe our brow, our jaw, lower back and hips. Feel that space coming in, and every exhalation, imagine releasing that tension more and more. And just bringing yourself to as relaxed a place as possible. And in setting up a general practice that supports a tantric practice in the future or currently, it's so helpful to begin your meditation with some relaxation. We forget that step. So we come in from busy lives. You establish a place in your home. You sit yourself down on some sort of seat, and we expect the mind to be totally cooperative. But we haven't done anything to relax ourselves. This is part of the meditation practice, an integral part of the meditation practice. And you just sit with your breath for a while. You follow the air going in the nostrils, the air coming out of the nostrils. And you let all the activities from your day just go, just sift away, bubbles floating off into space. And take a moment to just think about why you're here right now. What information you would like to receive. May that be useful for your body, for your mind, for your life. And in this tradition, we're very focused on helping all living beings unlimitedly. So if you struggle with that you're not able to do that, maybe you can dedicate this time together towards moving you along a path that will get you to that place. In this tradition, we would call it enlightenment or Buddhahood, because then you're unlimited in benefiting all living beings. And that is the source of all of your peace and happiness, benefiting others, benefiting all living beings. So certainly you're included in that to a degree, but trying as much with what we call a bodhicitta motivation to cherish others more than ourselves. You feel some connection with that in your heart. Please set a motivation. If you'd like to include that idea, bodhicitta motivation in yours, feel free. At the very least, put your mind in the most positive space. So for that purpose of reaching a fully awakened space, to reach that enlightenment, to benefit all living beings, we'll talk about Tantra this evening. So as a reminder from last week, meditation, once again, feeling your body for a moment with roots coming down deep into the earth. It is not meant to have you feel leaden or heavy, but grounded. So bring some attention to the space where your body makes contact with the cushion or the chair. And follow these roots, imagining roots like a tree going down through the cushion, through the floor, deep into the ground, till we feel well anchored to the earth. Allow your mind to make contact with the stable earth energy that supports us. Feel that groundedness, that stability. And imagine the roots are absorbing all the nutrients from the earth that are drawn upwards, all the nutrients that will support, balance your mind, open your heart to support your living practice. So all these nutrients are absorbed up through the roots into the trunk of the tree, So coming through your body, imagine, feel the energy coming up through your torso. And slowly imagine this energy makes its way up through our body, through our spinal column, up through the back of our neck, the back of our head, all the way up to our crown. Just like the central channel I mentioned last week, more subtle energy system. That dynamic straw of light running in the center of your body, just like this trunk of the tree. And feel that as this energy moves up, these nutrients through your body, feel that every step of the way, the rising energy gently releases any tightness, any restriction it encounters. You just try your best. Just feel this openness of your body, clarity. The energy that's been rising up your torso, your trunk, continues straight up and out of the crown of your head. Imagine it goes up through the ceiling right here, through the roof of the building, through the atmosphere, all the way to the farthest reaches of space. So Tantra removes limits, mental constrictions. And imagine as your mind contacts the boundlessness of space, imagine it effortlessly experiences the boundless expansion of clear, unobstructed awareness. Clear, unobstructed awareness. Just imagine whatever that means to you. Keep your focus there as best as you can. You just let go. So Tantra is a rewiring of yourself, of your limitations, to push the envelope of limitlessness, of an extraordinary view that at times can be inconceivable. So we just work to begin with this very simple meditation. And now allow your attention to slowly descend back down from the boundless space, down through the roof, through the ceiling, coming back down through the crown of your head, moving down through the back of your head, back of the neck, and resting deeply in the heart center. This is the center of our awareness, but it remains in contact with the earth element below, the air element or the spaciousness above. The earth element gives our mind a sense of calm and stability, helps us concentrate, allowing us to remain fixed on any object of our choosing. The space element above gives us some experience of our mind's spaciousness, clarity, alertness. So in this way, our mind achieves balance and poise. So through your daily activities, if you ever feel dull, drowsy, heavy, or sleepy, remind yourself of the space element, that spacious clarity of the mind, and let it renew you and refresh you. If you're ever feeling extremely scattered and distracted, lightheaded or spacey, remind yourself of the grounded earth element supporting us. Now imagine that this essentially clear consciousness residing at the center of our hearts takes on the aspect of gently radiating white light. And imagine this white light is in the nature of loving compassion, this heartfelt wish for all beings to be free from suffering. Let that radiance grow in your heart, that big wish that they can develop their own innate loving compassion, wisdom, all those good qualities. And imagine now this radiant white light at your heart center, together with our loving, compassionate wishes, begins to expand, radiating in all directions. And imagine it expanding out of the pores of your body, filling right now the entire room in which we sit, slowly moving out of the building, radiating to the surrounding community, through this city, radiating through the Netherlands, through this country, growing, expanding, encompassing the whole world and the whole solar system with this loving radiance. So even though we know there's tremendous suffering in the world, that is samsara's nature, but still we can imagine this loving, beautiful radiance touching every atom of the universe, touching every being, sending that ripple of hope here from this room, from your heart. Slowly, all the radiance begins to absorb, coming back from all the universe, all the beings, slowly back into this part of the world, into this city, into this neighborhood, into the building, in the room, and back into the center of our hearts. Any blissful, peaceful experience you feel, just rest there for a moment. And just reflect for a moment. Just think, just as now, through the force of my imagination, I have emanated white light, this white light energy to all the beings throughout the universe, offering them peace, well-being. So in the future, may I actually be able to accomplish all of this and thereby make my life truly meaningful. Please relax. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. We're just going to do some of the preliminary prayers that we do before teachings. I'm going to share my screen. And that's a nice meditation you can do. Just a very simple, the grounding, spaciousness, and that has a little bit of a foundation for Tantra. The other thing you can do is when you're really expansive and feeling, sending that light to all the beings, however long you have or short, right? Some people would recite a mantra, a sacred saying. You know, the Buddha of compassion, if you're sending compassion, Om Mani Padme Hum. So as you slowly work your way into the Dharma, some of you are already practicing this, some of you are new, but that's where you would maybe do some mantra recitation. It has an inner resonance. There's all sorts of different mantras, but that's simple, the simplest of mantras, Om Mani Padme Hum, is the mantra of the Buddha of compassion. So that can help, and you can recite as quickly or as long as you'd like, slowly just allowing that resonance of that beautiful light energy of compassion spreading out, then dissolve it all in like that. So we're going to go to our prayers just for a moment. And opened it up. Oh, here we go. And imagining the Buddha in the space in front of us. This radiant being that just represents the highest level of our own wisdom, compassion, loving kindness, are all of our good qualities. We can just imagine there's represented in some of the paintings around the room or behind my head, and representative of, inseparable from any teacher you might have. You can imagine that teacher small at the heart of the Buddha, okay? So that we're going to receive these blessings so we can listen a little better in the class or get some of those seeds awakened in our own minds like that. Praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. We will read in English. Guru, teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Shugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be subdued, teacher of gods and humans. To you, Buddha Bhagavan, glorious conquer Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Guru, teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Shugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be subdued, teacher of gods and humans, to you, Buddha Bhagavan, glorious conquer Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Guru, teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Shugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be subdued, teacher of gods and humans, to you, Buddha Bhagavan, glorious conquer Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When supreme among humans you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, savior to you, I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the one God, to thusness I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path of sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any unwholesome actions, engage in perfect wholesome actions, subdue one's own mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. So this is a very distinct paragraph on emptiness, the nature of reality. Let's just recite this slowly, equating each of those images to something that doesn't exist inherently or exists impermanently. A star, a defective view, a butter lamp flame, an illusion, a dewdrop, a water bubble, a dream, lightning, a cloud. See all causative phenomena like this. By these merits may transmigratory beings attain the state of all seeing, subdue the enemy of faults, and be freed from the ocean of samsara, disturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. The 7-limb prayer. Again, a very profound prayer that sets up a nice cushion for our program. I prostrate reverently with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, both actually arranged and mentally emanated. I confess all my negative actions and downfalls collected from beginningless time. I rejoice in the virtues of ordinary beings and Aryas. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for transmigratory beings. I dedicate my own and others' virtues to great enlightenment. Short mandala offering. So imagine offering the most incredible universes. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine as a Buddha land and offer it. May all transmigratory beings enjoy this pure land. Idam Guru Radha Mandala Kamira Tayami. And refuge and bodhicitta, taking refuge in generating bodhicitta before the teachings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. O Sangye Chodanzo Kicho Namla Janchu Bardu De Nikyap Suchi Dagi Jin Ningi Peso Namgi Drola Pencher Sangye Dru Parsho Sangye Chodanzo Kicho Namla Janchu Bardu De Nikyap Suchi Dagi Jin Ningi Peso Namgi Drola Pencher Sangye Dru Parsho. We were talking last week, as just a brief review, Tantra meaning thread. It's a continuity. And what we're trying to do is really extract the extraordinary and turn our view from ordinariness to an extraordinary view. And so I talked a little bit about Buddha devotion. So some people may be very new here, some people may have a background, but the fundamentals, and something I will talk about tonight, is you need a foundation on your house before you put the roof of Tantra on top. Tantra is very exciting for people. We think it's about sex. It is not about sex. So everybody wants tantric initiation. They hear that people did this tantric initiation and they're doing some tantric retreat and they have no understanding of it, but they want that. But they have no foundation. So we need a foundation of some of the philosophical texts and purposes and things like that that help give us that buoyant cushion so we can really understand the nature of Tantra and how best to practice it. How best to practice it. And part of that starts with finding an authentic teacher, a highly realized being. I'm talking at that level. So we have teachers at different levels. I talked about that last week. So it's really a crux. And then what you're doing is you're practicing some sort of guru yoga practice. Yoga means to yoke. So practice that through just visualization, and you might have a practice booklet of a certain deity type of practice. So one of the things I do that I'll ask Lizette to send out is, I did this in the Tuesday night class, the Lojong class, is some people want to know, how do they get started? Okay, so I'm following the lineage from Lama Zopa Rinpoche, from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, all the way back to this being Lama Tsongkhapa. Okay, I'm in that lineage. So basically these are instructions, some of which I put together myself that mirror what Rinpoche's advice is, Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And so there's practice booklets, and one of them is the Shakyamuni Buddha Daily Practice Meditation. Okay, it's a thin booklet. So all of these practices I've outlined with links where you can download them, where you can get them, most of them are free, basically takes you through a practice, but there's different practices, so don't get too overwhelmed. If you see this list, you want to look at this list, you just start. It is in a type of order. So you want to start with the first booklet, right? And spend 2 or 3 weeks with the booklet. Just understand there might be a little commentary on it. You slowly go through, do some of the recitations, some of the visualizations, like that. You get a little bit familiar. See how it feels for your mind. See how it feels for your mind. So one of them, this Guru Shakyamuni Buddha practice meditation practice booklet, is your simplest Guru Yoga. You visualize an aspect of the Buddha in front of you, your teacher, one with your teacher, right? Then you do some preliminary prayers. There's time for meditation in that. You can insert that in different places. There's some mantra recitation, and it has motivations in there. So everything's in there, complete practice. It may roll out in the beginning. It takes longer to do these practices. As you get more familiar with them, they're streamlined, they're quicker. You know what you're doing now. What you don't understand, you make notes, you write questions. People here at the center can explain, what does this prayer mean? Why am I doing this? But the book explains a lot. So this little booklet, easy to travel around with it, like that. You do some visualization, some mantra recitation, see how it feels. If you're not sure you're pronouncing something right, ask somebody at the center, like that. You can ask online as well, okay? And then you try that, but try something for 2 or 3 weeks. So you don't have time before you go to work to do the whole booklet. You just do whatever part you can. Come back later in the day, pick it up where you did. Maybe it takes you 3 days to do the whole booklet. Just try it like that for a while. So you get familiar over and over. Okay, there's no set thing. It has to be like this. You see what works in your life, and then slowly it starts happening more quickly. You have more understanding, right? Then you add another layer, another layer, another layer. That's how it evolves. Then eventually you get a tantric initiation. Okay, so again, in order to practice Tantra, you need an introduction. You need an invitation to do it. It is a secret type of practice, especially highest level. So I talked about 4 classes of Tantra. And then there's a subtle body and the channels. We were talking about that, the channels in the body, and what causes problems for us to arise in our minds. It comes from our mind. You get upset with somebody, you don't like your boss, your partner breaks up with you, you're struggling with ill health. Tibetan Buddhism says all of it comes from your mind, okay? And so what happens is the subtle energy system in the body gets blocked, okay? It gets blocked because of habits of ignorance in our mind, that's all. Why do I have a habit of ignorance in my mind? From a previous moment of that in my mind, okay? And when I say ignorance, I just mean basic confusion. We misknow reality. We misinterpret what we're seeing. Okay? And from that, all the other delusions come. Anger, hatred, desire, attachment, jealousy, pride, doubt, arrogance. I think you get the idea, right? So every time you experience one of those imbalances in the mind, one of those channels gets squeezed. Okay, there's different channels that wrap around, they get knotted, okay? So it creates more delusion, it creates blockages. So I don't experience that spacious clarity I was doing in the meditation in the beginning, okay? But we can get there through, but it takes practice, it takes time, it takes effort, okay? So this isn't an easy path. If you want an easy path, honestly, it's not here, find something else, okay? But this is the most rewarding. This is incredibly rewarding for you. Okay, and it works. It really works, meaning to turn your mind from delusion and negative habits, negative patterns, to something glorious, something that will make you stable, peaceful, happy, and fully empowered to help all other beings get there. That's all you're interested in as well. That's where you derive all your happiness and bliss. Okay, so this is some of what we talked about, like that. Okay. Let's get to the good stuff. The more stuff. Okay. So I want to talk about different ideas, and we have ideas about Tantra. We see deities in union. It's not about sex. It's about transforming desire, especially at the highest level of Tantra, Mahanuttara Yoga, or highest yoga Tantra. In order to practice those things of different deities that you see in union, you're going to visualize their world systems. You're going to say their mantras. And the reason you're doing it, and often you're doing it in a retreat mode, meaning I'm doing several sessions a day of a visualization that's outlined in a book that can be thin, can be short, can be very long, that outlines and starts to depict that entire deity's world system and all their entourage. Some are extremely simple, some of the practices, some are extremely elaborate. So it takes time to learn them, like anything we studied and learned, like that. Okay, so the reason we're trying to do it is to actualize that extraordinary space, that extraordinary world system. Okay, so and stopping my mind from seeing things as ordinary, which is what ordinary beings see, which keeps us suffering. Okay, so in a sense, there's this, I'd say you're redesigning yourself in Tantra. Think of it like that. You're redesigning yourself. Now, in order to do that, at the highest yoga Tantra level, you need a master, male or female, but you need somebody trained in that, skilled in that. And I would again say with high realizations. Now, how do you find that person? Good ethics and calling from your heart. I want to find my teacher. Many people ask me, how do I find a teacher? What do I do? Okay. Well, start following a certain path, checking out some of the courses, reading some of the books slowly. You dip your toe in the pool a little bit slowly, but you have to see how does it fit for your mind? How do you feel? You went to this class. You don't just go like a robot, you absorb. You have to think about what you heard. If they give you an exercise, try the exercise a few times. How does it make you feel? Does it work? Not work. Okay, it's your engagement in it. As one of my teachers said, you have to cook it. I'm just giving you information according to a certain methodology. You have to cook it. You make the meal. You want to make it tasty. Okay. So the main thing is keeping good ethics, following a certain path. Okay. Checking out different teachers. Well, everybody's online now. High, low, doesn't matter. They're all online teaching. So go see online what's going on. You heard about a certain teacher. Who's that? Is that in the lineage of this center? I like this center. Is that the same lineage? You can have teachers in different lineages, but in the beginning, it's good to stick with one lineage. Some of the teachings are slightly different in the other lineages. But once you have a good grounding, then maybe you find a teacher also in something else that you want to attend. It's good. Then you find somebody, and then eventually you might watch online, but hopefully if they're still alive, go see them in person. I've traveled far and wide to see some of my teachers, to make that effort, to get in front of them when they're giving this special teaching. Okay, and maybe the highest yoga tantra empowerment that you feel some connection to. So you might have seen a picture of a certain deity, a certain aspect of the Buddha. You might have seen a deity, a picture of one of these deities in union, and somehow it struck a chord with you. So find out more about it. Whatever you can find out. Find out if there's a teacher giving that empowerment to that deity. The reason you want the empowerment with Tantra is what it does is it gives you permission to then do the retreat on the deity. It gives you more power when you say the deity's mantra. Okay. And the reason I want to do that retreat, and what we normally do is we start with something called an approximation retreat. I want to approximate, meaning I want to get near, I want to get close to that deity, to that aspect of the Buddha. Okay. So approximation retreats, you tend to be reciting 100,000 of that deity's main mantra. Okay. There could be other mantras recited and things, but mainly it's 100,000 clearly enunciated, okay, with a certain discipline in retreat where you're doing several sessions a day, okay, of a very similar visualization in that booklet that they give you called a sadhana. Sadhana means method of accomplishment. So it's through this booklet, I'm going to accomplish that aspect of the Buddha, that deity, bring myself closer to that deity. And all the deities represent something else. Some are there to transform desire. Some transform anger. Some help you gain more wisdom. You know, some clear obstacles for different things. Some are about long life, all kinds of things. So the best one to tell you what is your yidam or your meditational deity would be your guru, your main teacher. So again, finding that person, feeling aligned, making sure they're authentic. Don't just jump because everybody else is following this person. Make sure this is the right person. Check out their qualities. Are they walking the talk? His Holiness the Dalai Lama actually says, be a spy on your guru. And he says, spend 6 years before you accept them as a teacher. Like, really check out. And I have seen people, they jumped at somebody, and then a few years later, they're like, oh, I don't like that person. Okay. So we really want to make sure this is your mind. This is somebody that's able to shift your mind a bit, really helping you get into the Dharma. You shift your mind yourself, but they're the ones guiding, special unique connection. So imagine this, through this experience, you're redesigning yourself. So if you don't need any redesigning, you're fine the way it is, great, no problem. But if you feel like I need a little fine tuning, okay, that's what Tantra is about. Okay, so in a sense, you're reharnessing, okay, an imagination, okay, coming from wisdom, okay, free of your projections upon it, okay, which are ignorant projections that we have. If you're an ordinary being, you're projecting ignorance onto things. And that means if suddenly a karmic seed of attachment arises, some positive seed suddenly pops up, then I over embellish the reality that's there. And then I form attachment. Then I want that. I like the color. I like how that's showing to me. But if I have a negative karmic seed arising in my mind, why is it suddenly arising? I don't know. Karma is very intricate. Suddenly a negative seed gets activated. Then I look at the external reality and I underestimate what's out there and I don't like it. Then I want it to go away. Okay, so that's what we project onto everything. Okay. And Rhoda, I'll take questions in a moment. Hang on to that thought. So what we're trying to do through this reharnessing is destroying the world of suffering, okay? And redesigning a world, okay? Extraordinary view to help others find more happiness more effectively. That's my whole motivation of bodhicitta, okay? And in reality, there's a oneness to all this. There's an absolute oneness, a reality, fundamental. And fundamentally, it's good-hearted, it's compassionate. That's the reality. That's the extraordinary view all the time. And this is the deepest force of life. Deepest force of life is love and compassion. And that's actually, and you learn this through Tantra, that's actually the nature of reality. Love and compassion. And that solves everything. Okay, that solves everything. So just think about, for now till next week, your daily life, going on daily life. Now, mostly we have mundane experiences going on, neutral experiences happening. You're brushing your teeth. You're having a cup of tea. There's not much, but you can actualize and elevate it by the nature of your motivation for having a cup of tea. You know, I see the tea. I realize I want the tea. You know, so it's a little bit self-serving. But what if I think about having a cup of tea? It'll help me to get a little bit hydrated, and that would be helpful for my health. And because I want to use my life right now in a meaningful way that will get me enlightened quickly to benefit all living beings. With that motivation, I'm going to have my cup of tea. It's very different than just having a cup of tea. Understand? So it's really, the motivation is really key. Slowly through tantric practice, you may start having a very blissful, divine cup of tea as a deity, as whatever deity you are reharnessed, redesigned to practice like that. Very, very helpful. But think about the fundamental nature of our reality is love and compassion. And as a result, it makes that everybody's fundamentally good that lives in your extraordinary world, your extraordinary realm. That's not the way we encounter people, okay? So this is a really unique concept of Buddhism that I love. Most of us have come from Judeo-Christian backgrounds. Nothing wrong with that, okay? But for me, and this was my own checking, you need to check up. We have God, the creator religions, a separate entity, okay, that creates everything for you. Then you're powerless, okay? And please think about this, something I really checked. So my concept of God, I may have been wrong the way I was raised, but and please correct me if this is your experience, was an omnipotent being. Omnipotent means all powerful. Similar for any of you, how you were raised, or different? Omnipotent, somewhat similar? Okay, so all powerful. So I thought about that later, all powerful. I got into Buddhism. Okay, it's non-theistic. There's no separate creator being, okay? Well, where does reality come from? Buddhism says, from your mind. Okay, so that puts you at the controls. That means everything I'm thinking, saying, and doing, I'm actualizing and planting a seed in my consciousness that will ripen in the future. So why don't I do positive things and think positive thoughts and say positive things. That creates happiness for me in the future. So then you may notice, but I'm not patterned to do that. And when this sort of situation is swimming out of control around me, then I actualize negative mind states. Negative things start coming out of my mouth. Negative thoughts, negative activities. It's just normal for ordinary beings. But you can shift that with good ethics. And to think about, I'm creating my reality versus somebody else. Is somebody else doing it? You have to check up. And then I checked up on this being omnipotent, all powerful. So if somebody is all powerful, I don't know, you might have a different thought, but wouldn't they enlighten us? You know, all powerful. Wouldn't they enlighten us? If somebody's all powerful and a 2-year-old child has leukemia, has cancer, can't they fix that? They're all powerful. And so this is my thing. This is my own investigation. I didn't understand. I was like, you know, if they're powerful. But see, Buddha mind, the Buddha mind is not all powerful. The Buddha mind is all knowing, omniscient. It's not omnipotent, it's omniscient. It's all knowing. It sees reality directly, it sees everything like that. Okay, so that's different. That's not somebody that can fix everything. Why can't they fix it all? Because it's your karma unloading from your mind. They can't fix that. You can fix it though. You can fix it. They can guide you. Okay, so I just wanted to explain that. Okay, I want to watch a little video of Lama. Manita, my dear, if you can, otherwise I have it queued as well. But we're going to try this video. If the children will permit us.
They want to come in.
They can maybe learn about Dharma.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can be quiet. Where's Monita?
Do we have any little candies we can give them or something?
Cookie?
Do we have some cookies?
Yeah. Many cookies.
If they want to come in, maybe I can give them some cookies or
Yeah.
we just say very quick. We do it very quick. I love when the kids are putting their nose against, for those of you not, on their window, you know, when you do that and you'd sit up against the window with your nose. See if they're interested. They may, as soon as you open their door, they may run away. They may not want to come in. Or if you want to give them at the door.
We have only biscuits.
Ja, dat geeft nog niet. Oh ja, ze zijn al weg.
That's okay. Okay. So we're going to show just about 5-10 minutes of Lama Yeshe. Talking about, this is a course, Intro to Tantra. Yeah, she's trying to bring it up, I think. If it's not working, Manita, I can do mine.
Can you see? Yeah. You can move.
Oh, there's a question in the chat from Laura.
Okay, hang on to your questions. I just want to show the video, then we're going to hang on to your questions. Hold that thought. I can't hear you, Manita. You're muted. So, do you want me to do, or you're okay?
You can see it, right?
No.
That's the rights.
You want to share your screen? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm.
Yeah.
There we go. And then can you make it big? There we go.
This is Lama Yeshe. This is that one. The founder of the
Upper organization.
Am I still sharing?
No, can you make it bigger? Can you make it fill the screen? Can you click on that button that you're on?
But I had it.
The bottom right button.
Yeah.
Just click on that. Yep, there you go. Not working?
As it gets stuck, we have to wait a bit. It happened before.
Let me try to share mine, okay? Because mine's all queued up. If you turn yours off for a moment, hang on a sec. Mine's all ready to go. Can we change the sound so that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah, the moment that I made it bigger, the sharing stopped automatically. I don't know why.
I just wanted to show a little bit of, so one of the things, I'll take the questions in a moment. The foundation of practicing Tantra is based on something called, there's common preliminaries that you need to kind of take care of. There's uncommon preliminaries, okay? Common preliminaries, they will sometimes layer in this tradition as something called the 3 principles of the path, or the 3 principal aspects of the path. It's the same thing. Does anybody know what those are? Anybody online or anybody in the room? 3 principles of the path are
renunciation, getting out of samsara, and then the bodhicitta.
So no, we got renunciation is correct. That's number 1. Renunciation is correct. And that is getting out of samsara.
That is getting out of samsara.
Okay. Renunciation literally is about, because we think it's about giving all our money away. No, renunciation is an attitude, but it's based in, I'm striving day and night to get out of samsara. I'm giving it everything I have to get out of this cycle. Samsara means to turn, Sanskrit word. We're simply cycling through birth, old age, sickness, and death. All of that is suffering, okay? And I realize, and basically it starts with, renunciation starts with compassion for myself. I realize I'm suffering, I'm tired of suffering. So we want to start somewhere. That's renunciation, that's the first principle. Number 2, you said it, but you had it as number 3.
Bodhicitta, you said.
Oh,
Bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, the good heart.
Okay.
Bodhicitta, okay? Bodhicitta, Sanskrit term. Bodhi is enlightenment. Citta is mind. The mind of enlightenment is, I want to become a Buddha to benefit all living beings. It involves compassion, empathy, cherishing others more than yourself. Second principle of the path, bodhicitta. You need that good heart like that. That's my method. That's how I'm going to practice with the good heart. So renunciation, bodhicitta. Number 3, principal aspect of it. Anybody online? Somebody on
emptiness.
Laura, go for it.
Wisdom realizing emptiness.
The wisdom, thank you. The wisdom realizing emptiness is the 3rd principle of the path. That's our view. That's our view. So bodhicitta is my way. Emptiness is my view. Okay. And so Lama's talking about, we don't even know ourselves properly. So Tantra a little bit is you're visualizing an extraordinary view, extraordinary reality, a deity in a deity's paradise with the whole entourage of holy beings. Imagine if you go out every day in that space. Now, I'm not talking about mental illness. Like you go out and you think you're, but it's a balance thing. Again, the root to the tree, balance me. And, you know, I understand reality is a conventional reality. You might say, well, in my case, I'm Amy walking out, Buddhist nun, going about my business. That's my conventional basis, okay? There's an ultimate basis. I don't exist inherently at all. I don't exist concretely in an unchanging way, the way we feel we exist. You're the center of the universe. You're the only one that's important. We don't exist that way, okay? So you have these 2 truths operating, but if I understand that view, then you can play a little bit with Tantra of going out. And so everything is quite divine around you, like a dance of light. Why not see all beings, you know, especially the most difficult beings for you, to see them as an extension of your mandala, of your world system, as a deity in the paradise. They're there to show you your mind. So they are divine. They're actually quite special, the most difficult beings. That's not the way we normally think we go out. We want those difficult beings to go away. I want them out of my universe. Get out. Okay. But they're always going to be there because it's samsara. So for my ordinary mind, difficulties are going to pop up. Suffering will be there. That's its nature. Okay. So then Lama also talked about, I liked when he said, you know, you want to understand your organic needs. You know, kind of fundamentally what's really important is getting my mind together. Getting my mind together. And he talks about the Dharma supermarket. We're so distracted. Some of these teachings were given in California, but we're so thoroughly distracted by everything. I want this. And I see people, they get really excited. They come to the center. They come for a couple of months, are all excited, a new thing, or they come for a year. Then you never see them again. They found the next thing, but they're jumping to all these things. without really finding something authentic. You do want to check up first. It's good to have a little look around in the beginning when you're new, and then find something and go for it for a while. Go deeply in like that. Then you really access some more information. Very, very helpful. And the other thing I was pointing out when Lama laughed, so you could see Lama. I wanted to just show you a little bit. He passed away a long time ago, so 30, 40 years ago, quite a while, and passed away in California. And a number of my friends were involved in his care at the end in the center I used to run. He was cremated there, Vajrapani Institute, beautiful retreat center in California, Northern California. Well, one of my friends, it was at the cremation. Lama was cremated there in an open cremation, which you cannot do in California anymore. It's illegal. But at that point, they got permission and they could do it. And people said that one of my friends said when there was something about the cremation pyre, and the next day when they finally opened it to look for relics, Lama Zopa Rinpoche was looking for relics to determine where might Lama take rebirth, like this kind of Tibetan system. And somehow the teeth were there. They found the teeth. And so one of my friends said when she saw the teeth, then she knew he was gone. Like she couldn't quite believe. He was such a big personality. And you could see a little bit in the meditation, in the video. He's almost part of it in meditation as he's delivering the video. That was very much from what I heard about Lama. I never had the opportunity to meet him. But living a long time at Vajrapani and all the stories and all the beings that spent time, I felt a little bit like I got to know him quite well. But somebody said when I saw the teeth, she said, then when I saw so distinct, she's like, then I knew he was gone. It really happened, that he really died like that it's really gone in that form. So Lama also mentions words like superstition. Lama Zopa Rinpoche calls it hallucination. Similar, when we have the wrong view of reality and we're acting on that, I'm solidifying my enemy. And then I yell at them and I want to get away from them. And then I tell other people how horrible they are. Okay, so if somebody exists inherently like that, as a terrible being like that, then what inherent existent means is they have to be that for all beings. Nobody exists that way. Inherent nature is also an unchanging experience. They never change. They're kind of frozen in time and space. What exists like that, right? So this is what we impute from an ignorant consciousness on everything we experience, and especially ourselves. And that's what makes us suffer. Okay. So Lama's whole thing is understand your own reality. Understand. So this is, and he said it's subjective meditation. It all starts with the meditation practice, finding the right teacher, orienting yourself, learning the basic philosophy like that. And so when he says understand your own reality, is notice, like for instance, what makes you suffer? When you suffer, what kind of suffering do you experience? What's it like in your mind? Is there anything I can do about it? You know, these were things I thought about for a while about a separate creator universe. I thought about that because that's the way I was raised. And I believed in that for many years. I thought that was the system. All these other people believed it. Okay? So you need to check. Is that accurate? You know, these kind of things. And you check your mind. And then they say, well, here's a counter to anger in your mind. You know, here's an antidote to depression in your mind. Here's an antidote to fear. And then you have to try it. So first I'm going to try it internally on my cushion in my meditation practice. Meaning I'm going to rehearse. Meditation is a type of rehearsal at times. So I'm going to apply that technique over and over and imagine myself with my difficult person. And I'm going to apply this technique in my mind. And, you know, we're analyzing, sometimes asking ourselves questions, right? See, how does it feel? And then you come out externally. And now here's your difficult person. Now you try externally. And that's a lot of our practice, the internal and the external. I need the internal to give myself some better building blocks, some more stability, okay? Some more virtuous practices to layer that in the mind. So when I come out and I'm externally with somebody, now that's what gets activated. But this takes time. This takes effort. This doesn't happen in 2 weeks. I'm sorry to inform you, those people. Okay, we had a couple of questions. One here in the room, and then we'll take the next one.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Hold on.
Sorry.
I can remember it. Oh yeah, it was about, you were talking about the teachers, finding a teacher. And I was thinking about how there really can be good and bad teachers, and or like better or worse teachers, I guess, or better fits or whatever. And I was reflecting on how I've been using AI as a teacher, and it's been very powerful, but I can also see how it could go in very bad ways, like bad teachers, regular bad teachers.
Yes.
And so I was wondering what you think about this, and like there seems to be an amazing opportunity for to use this technology to teach Dharma, like authentically, but there seems to be like real risks that come with that. And I was wondering.
Sure. AI is really a very interesting field right now. It's a very hot field, as we know. I personally have like the positive and the negative about it in my mind. Like I use it for certain things, and then other things, like it doesn't replace, and this is what's called in our tradition, we call this an oral tradition. And the teachings, authentic teachings to imprint in your mind more significantly have to be passed down. They're called ear whispered as well, meaning has to come from the lips of the teacher into my ears. So initially, some of the transmissions, they would say, lung, you know, you get a transmission of a mantra, meaning they recite the mantra, you recite it 3 times after them. There's a certain power in that from it actually going into my ear in person. There's a separate one now where they've allowed live stream. Like His Holiness said, you get this initiation, but you have to be attentive at the live stream while it's happening, not a recording. Okay. Now, the only experience I have of this, well, I have a few experiences, but one of them was, there was a teacher teaching at Vajrapani Institute some years ago in California. One hot summer night, there was a bunch of us in the Gompa, and they were saying, it was a teaching on emptiness, and they said something about put down your pencils, don't take notes, I want you to just listen. And something got transmitted in the room. For several of us felt this energy, something different went into the mind, you know. And then I had this is the old days, so they were on cassettes. You know, we bought cassettes of that. Everybody wanted that session because everybody was like, something happened, you know, in the room. And I've listened to the cassette many times. It's not in the, I can't get it in the cassette. It's not, it's kind of gone. It's just words. You hear it, you hear the same words, but doesn't affect the, so I do know some people that got a transmission and got initiation on the phone live with a teacher. So I think there is something about that live being that AI doesn't speak to. Now, will it eventually develop into something that can give that level of transmission? I don't know.
I think it could help people kind of self-transmit to sort of receive the wisdom internally.
Internally, I don't know. That I don't know, because that's actually your own work to do in meditation. Like that's why Lama's saying it's subjective. He wasn't saying your mind, it's about me, that this is all about me. It's about, I have to do that work and check my mind. That's the only way it works. I can't enlighten you, and I can't kind of give you my experiences in meditation. Like you have to do it yourself. And I can give you information about what worked for me. Then you have to try it. So in AI can give you, teach you some of these things and teach like a course and things. And then, but then you'd have to do the work yourself still.
Yeah, you still have to do the work.
It's not going to be able to enlighten you or give you realization, as far as I know, you know, because it's really coming from your own mind. But, and you know, maybe I'm old fashioned, but, because I do use it for some things, but, you know, I was a fan years ago. I watched some of the Terminator movies, especially the first one, you know, which is quite significant of what we created that is out. I mean, social media is kind of out of our control. We know that. I don't know if some of you have seen a film. It's kind of a modern day horror film, I thought. And I think it's called The Social Dilemma. Is that what it was called? Did you see this?
Documentary,
No,
a documentary?
film, right?
The documentary.
Right?
Yes, it's not the social, it's not the film, it's a documentary. It's a documentary on, like, when you watch the film, like that was it. I turned off all my notifications. I'm actually like on the verge of leaving social media, but I use it for programs mostly, and for the centers to, you know, promote. But it was terrifying. Watch it, Social Dilemma, it's called. The Social Dilemma. The other film is called
Social Network.
So it's not that.
Yeah.
That's like a Hollywood film, but this is a social dilemma
And I think it's on
about
Netflix.
that they're out of control with social media and what it's doing to you. Now a lot of you know you are having a conversation with a friend, right? So you know your phone is listening to you. That's how they're designed. So the next moment you're talking to your friend about the socks you want to buy. And then the next thing you know, all you're getting is ads for those socks on your phone. So shut all that off. You can turn all that off so that it doesn't listen and it doesn't hear. And I would say I have tech holidays every week. I don't open the computer. I don't turn the phone on. I look forward to these days more and more. I do more and more of them because it's running our lives, as we know. You know, everything's in the phone and everybody's like, so just look at that. How does that affect your space? How does it feel? So sometimes can be good to have a little bit of a holiday. So I don't know if that's helpful. Yeah. And AI, you know, I don't know if anyone watched The Terminator, the first one, is really about that and how it ended up that, you know, this whole system they created backfired and then the machines were running us. And there's other films that have obviously explored it, like The Matrix, you know, things like that. So I think it's very likely that there's another film I saw, Ex Machina, that also explored, you know, is also, so they're all, everybody knows. And I think the people that are involved in it know that it's very dangerous. And the next thing we know, we'll have clones of armies of these, right? Yeah. So I think it's quite likely.
Something about the Dharma of this tradition that could speak to that, right? Because like one of the goals is to ease suffering of beings, right?
To ease suffering, yes.
And these systems are taking over and causing so much suffering. Is there something about the Dharma, do you think, that is going to be most effective at trying to reverse that, or at least maybe repurpose it so that this power is used in a more beneficial way?
Yeah, I mean, there's beneficial things where I have a friend helping. So we asked the centers, I have a really active teaching schedule this year, lots of centers. So she asked the centers, thank you, Lars. I think you produced your wonderful promotional flyers, but she asked the centers, can you send me a social media posting, you know, that will work on social media for Amy's course that she's doing so that we can promote it to help the center. So only one center sent, you know, a thing. So she went on and she's like, and she said to me, I found these AI generated things. They're a little creepy, but they're okay. They're effective. So she popped them on social media, my things. And that's what we're using right now. So, and it was really quick for both of us. I'm like, great, just do it. You know, okay, you know.
Yes.
So again, yeah, so we're using it like that. But what Dharma would say would be skillful.
Yeah.
You know, and use it within reason, moderation, because it's destroying our minds. Some of it, like you know, and also there's this issue started of people binge watching and the videos and all the thing that's available to you, and look at the news sources. Be skillful, because a lot of it is garbage. A lot of it's not true. So then people are responding, and then I tell you, and then I have to talk to you, and then I get upset, and then I really limit that kind of stuff. So we're having some issues, as you know, in the United States right now.
All over the world.
Yeah.
All over the world.
All over the world.
In Europe as well.
Exactly. And so I get messages from friends in the States. These are Dharma people, a lot of them. So but before the election, after the election, we had November, and freaked out. They can't sleep. They can't. And, you know, one of them, and I kind of know some of their lifestyle. So one of them, I just said, have you considered turning the television off?
Yeah.
They watch TV. I don't watch TV, you know. So have you considered turning the television? She lives with someone that watches a lot of television. There's nothing inherently wrong with television, but so then she wrote back and she said, oh, I never thought of that. Well, turn off the television. What garbage news that you're watching? So your whole blood pressure goes up. And all there are is talking heads and the most sensational things. So people will watch and they can get sponsor money. It's all just a cycle. We're completely brainwashed by that. Turn it off. Even on social media, what the news sources.
Yeah.
How much do you need to go down the thing? And you know, Americans tend to be extremely opinionated. So, you know, you're trying to have dinner with people. You just wanted to have some friends, nice, calm dinner. And then one opens that political door and everybody has to, you know, And there it goes. And I was like, can we talk about something else? I mean, I need to know what's happening in the news. I travel, so I need to know, is this country, is the regime collapsing, and is it going to be safe there? And so I do follow, but how much do you need? It all just repeats, and it's the same stuff of power and greed. So there's a lot of good things happening, but that doesn't get into the general news because it's not sensational enough for people to attract people. There's a lot of good going on in the world. So find the sites that are talking about that and join those kind of organizations that, and I think the Dharma for me, I'm more convinced of my path than ever. This is the way through. This is the way through. So they say right now in a degenerative time, which is what we're in, many of the other religions say the same thing, is that the path and realization and progress on the path is there, but it's like getting through the eye of a needle. You know, a sewing needle has a very slim space you put the thread through. Okay, so if you want it, go for it. It's a very slim space right now. That space is closing, but it's still there. So go for it. Shoot yourself through. You can get through, but it will take a tremendous amount of effort to quiet the noise. It's possible to do. Let me just take one. Wait, hang on. There was somebody online first. Is Lou?
Laura in the chat.
Okay.
Do we only have one Yidam? If so, why only one? Okay,
Yidam. Let me go through Yidam for a second. You can have more than one. And again, they're given to you by your guru, by your teacher. And let me explain a little bit about Yidam. We had a little piece on this.
There was another part of the question, because she thinks if one Yidam transforms desire and another transforms anger.
Well, if you can have more than one, then that part of the question is not relevant, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, you have more than one, but they're not necessarily, I mean, your teacher connects you with your Yidam, which is your meditational deity. And what that means is that's the practice you want to find. You want to first layer that thing of the three principles of the path, understand the philosophy. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. And then what you do is align yourself, find an authentic teacher, you can ask them what your meditational deity is. And then you want to try to get that empowerment of that deity, do that deity's retreat, and learn as much as you can. That's the one that's going to take you to enlightenment more quickly. Okay? And these are usually tantric Yidam, tantric deity I'm talking about. Yidam, heart bound is what it means. Heart bound. To signify, a heart connection to the inner guru. Okay? The inner guru symbolizes the deity. So you have what's called like an inner voice, an inner guru. Okay? Your external teacher is simply a manifestation trying to get you connected to that, what I would call Dharmakaya, the truth body of the Buddha. It's different Buddha bodies like that, actualized in tantric practice that you're visualizing. You're just really visualizing in the beginning. Okay. So what that external teacher is doing is reminding you. And so initially you get attracted. This is my experience, Lama Zopa Rinpoche. He wasn't the first high level teacher I met. Okay. But I met him early on in my Dharma career. Okay. And something just intrigued me about him. I never met anybody that I felt had a level of caring for others so much, ever. And I was just so intrigued, but he seemed to have a quality, right? I'm not any highly realized being, but something about him. And then I had the good fortune to follow he and his 60 disciples to Tibet. So I tagged on to the trip. It was open to anyone. And he took us for several weeks through all these rituals, holy places, and I got to watch him for several weeks. So again, really seeing this person, he seemed extraordinary. When he taught, I couldn't understand barely a sentence. You know, he talked with a lot of throat clearing. But somehow, obviously I had a connection, a very strong connection with him. So something hooked me. And then I started to study him and watch him. And just amazing, you know, he was trying to get my attention, you know, very thick skulled. So he was trying, but little things happened with him. Watching, you know, an example in Tibet, the road at that time was not developed. The road I came in from the west, from Nepal, incredibly dusty. So after several days in a bus on this dusty road, you're covered in dust in the bus, like totally covered every day. So I got an ear infection. must have gotten dust in my ear, and I had this ear infection for 3 weeks. It was painful. I could not hear out of this ear. And so finally we show up in Lhasa, and everybody came separately because there was no scheduled transportation at that time. And you just had to hit or miss, grab a bus, a truck, something. So people came in small groups. We meet and Rinpoche's there. And again, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about Buddhism. I did a 10-day course. These are all like people around 15 years longer than me, studying monks and nuns, and I'm just tagging along. So we go, and he would show us all these shrine rooms, all these temples, monasteries, and explain each thing. Took us through the Potala, Dalai Lama's palace. We went through with Rinpoche's explanation. What the Chinese do is they have tours, take you the wrong way through and tell you all the wrong stuff about the rooms. I listened to it myself. So anyway, he takes us through, and then when we're in a shrine room, and what happens is because I was a new person, I was always at the end of the line. So everybody's in the shrine room for the explanation. Then they'd all walk out, and then I would be able to go in. And so somehow Rinpoche and I meet at the doorway, this little shrine room, old Tibetan style building. And of course, he knows there's a connection. He knows he's my teacher. I know nothing, right? But he stops, and he was giving out medicine in the room. I heard he was giving, and then I heard somebody say, "Oh no, there's no more left. Little pills." I was like, "Well, okay, I'm the new guy. I don't know anything." Right? So he meets me at the doorway. I'm going in. He's coming out. He stops, sees me. Oh, he says, "Oh, hello." And I'm kind of and said, "Oh, Lama Zopa." I had seen him, and he taught in the course a little bit. And this was the man. This was the big guy. Everybody. I said, "Oh, hello, hello." And he says, "How are you?" So, in your own little situation, me and my little world, very small, limited, my ear hurts. My ear's been a major thing through, so then I said, my ear hurts. I have an ear infection. Like all I can think about is myself, as most of us. I said, I have an ear infection, and, and he opens his hand, and there's one more pill in his hand. Okay. Huh. So he could have had an extra pill, could have found one in his pocket. Anyway, he goes, you take this. Take this pill. Okay, so, and I somehow had the faith, I didn't trust it, took the pill, and I put it under your tongue, and I put it under my tongue. Next day, my ear was fine. So you can say coincidence, it would have gone away anyway. It hadn't gone away in 3 weeks. I don't know. I took some medicine for it before, nothing changed, nothing. I talked to a doctor from New Zealand who, nothing helped. But then so again, these little things, he drew me in. So I started being like, this is somebody different like that. So again, Yidam, heartbound, signify a heart connection to the inner guru, symbolized as the deity, whatever deity we're talking about. And then, and this innate wisdom, this inner voice, you might say, but we're really talking about inner guru, right? Like that is an innate wisdom of non-duality, is this truth body of the Buddha, Dharmakaya. Okay, but slowly when you practice Tantra, then you can learn about the different bodies of the Buddha. So I just wanted to mention that's all that external being is trying to drive you to you discovering your own innate wisdom, your own, as Lama says, understand your own reality. That's what they're all trying. So the authentic teacher is trying to bring you to that realization. And that's what Yidam is about. Does that help,
No.
Laura?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and so you can have more than one deity. I was actually just given one, but I have other friends that were given two. Generally, you wouldn't have more than two, like that. Lou. And then we'll take your question.
Who's not there?
Yes, she's here. She's just unmuting.
Oh, sorry. I forgot to unmute. Thank you for your teachings. Very inspiring. I have actually two questions. The first one is, you said to have secret empowerment, Tantra empowerment, you need to be invited. By whom? Because nowadays it's like out there is a secret empowerment happening in Nalanda, France in mid-July. You just need to, turn up. Subscribe
Yes.
and turn up.
Okay.
So, and second
so
one
I
is
didn't mean.
why.
Wait, let's take that first. I didn't mean to say you're invited, but what I mean is let's say you hear about this program at Nalanda. Do you know what initiation it is? What the program is?
Yes, it's the Rafu version of Avalokiteshvara.
Okay, so Avalokiteshvara is the Sanskrit word for the Buddha of compassion, Chenre Zig in Tibetan. Avalokiteshvara. There's different versions of that Buddha, Chenre Zig. There's a 4-arm version right back here. There's a 1,000-arm version in here. It's different versions. The 1,000-arm is supposed to be whom His Holiness the Dalai Lama embodies. So what you can do is, that usually may not be highest yoga tantra, but it may be a great initiation, which can somewhat qualify to a degree. But the highest yoga tantra empowerments generally are going to be over 2 days. So one day you're going to show up for 2 to 3 hours. Then the next day, then they give you some kusha grass, which is a sprig of grass is supposed to sweep away, so you have good dreams, sweep away obstructions. They give you a blessing string you can put on your arm or your wrist. And then they give you 2 pieces of kusha grass, a long and a short, you put under your pillow and your bed, your mattress. And they tell you, and then the second day you come back for a longer day. It's usually 3 to 5 hours through visualization. There might be a break, and then they'll initiate you, and you'll have to take, in the ceremony, they will give you refuge precepts, and you repeat when they say repeat after me, and you take refuge precepts. Then the second level would be bodhisattva vows in a proper initiation. Bodhisattva vows, there are 18 root vows and 46 auxiliary vows. Most of us are probably living by these vows anyway, but these are vows and refuge precepts you can learn in advance and read them in booklets and understand what they're about. The next thing would be with highest yoga tantra, you would be given tantric vows. Now, those are something you cannot read in advance, so it's a little bit of a leap of faith. But at this point, you've already been practicing, got some foundation of the 3 principles of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, and emptiness, and have a teacher and a little bit like that. So you're ready to take the tantric vows. The vows are designed, if you learn them and keep them well, they are designed to get you enlightened. That's how they're all about proper ethics. So there's something, it's a joy to keep them because they free you like that. So I don't know the Avalokiteshvara, which type it is, because there's different kinds. So again, with highest yoga tantra, let's say you come into a deity called Yamantaka, Dorje Jigje. So Yamantaka is a very fearful looking, wrathful form of wisdom, okay? Highest yoga tantra deity in union, okay? There's also a solitary version of him that also counts as a 2-day initiation. And you might see a picture and go, who's that? Like, so based on your connection, and then you want to check out who's giving the initiation. Make sure it's an authentic, highly real, a higher level Lama. Some of them are 40 years old now, but certainly could be, like we've been told in our tradition, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, they've designated His Eminence Song Rinpoche, His Eminence Ling Rinpoche, and Serkong Senchop Rinpoche. These are all 3 lamas right now. I know quite well. 2 are monks. 1 is a lay lama who teaches predominantly in the Dharamsala area, but they all travel. They all teach in different countries. They teach online, right? They've been kind of told as our advisors for FPMT. And they're all around 40 years old now. So it's interesting. Some of them knew them in their last lives, something like that. I met one of them when he was 2 years old in this life. So again, if you see they're giving a certain initiation and you feel pull, you can just turn up. It's not like you need permission, but make sure you ask the center, okay, are there commitments for doing this empowerment? Because usually the highest yoga tantra empowerments come with a daily commitment for the rest of your life, which means it's a way of learning and keeping your vows. It's a sadhana practice that can be done. Some of it's in 1 page called 6-session Guru Yoga. There's a 1-page version and then there's a longer version, but that is a version, the longer version especially has a lot of the vows listed. So through the version of a sadhana practice, they're all very much designed the same way to help you visualize this guru. You recite some mantras. You can read the vows if you like. It starts with a motivation and a dedication at the end. And that's a way to help. And so that's something often given for these initiations to keep the commitment and do it every day for the rest of this life. If you don't, and you don't pay attention to the commitments, they say it shortens the life of the teacher giving you the empowerment. So it's serious business taking Tantra, taking highest yoga Tantra empowerment. So you want to know that in advance. Some people just jump and they heard it and everybody's going, but find out a little bit more. What are my commitments? Are there any prerequisites? Meaning sometimes the center or the teacher will say you need to at least have taken refuge to be in here. You know, there's a refuge ceremony acknowledging this is your path. So those things are helpful to keep those ethics good in your practice from the beginning, because then it sets you up for better practice, for meeting the right teachers, for being able to progress along the path like that, than just jumping and doing stuff and not caring about the commitments. So sometimes the commitments could be, you have to recite a number of mantras as well. Sometimes the commitments, very serious ones, could be you have to read the sadhana every day, a longer sadhana, or do a retreat of 100,000 of that deity's mantra within 3 years. So they each come with a different level. So it's good to check that out. Sometimes they make it pretty easy for us these days because people aren't practicing as much. So Laura, Lou, is that helpful?
Yes, just to clarify, well, I'm not taking this empowerment, but for people that are interested, will be Secret Hayagriva initiation. It's HYT, and by His Eminence Kenzu Rinpoche Losam Delek. Well, you must know, you know him. And
so I don't know him in particular, but I do know that most Secret Hayagriva is highest yoga tantra. That's the highest level of tantra. And that's a harder, initiation to find. So some people may want to do that if it's not given as often like that.
Yeah, it's a very rare event. Will be mid-July, I think, in 2 days, as you said, 9 or 10, something like that. We just go to Nalanda Monastery, France. But that was very helpful. Thank you. But the second part of the question is, there are some highest yoga tantra initiations, like Shittamani Tara, for instance, that require to already be initiated in highest yoga tantra by another deity. So why is that, and is that true regarding Shittamani Tara?
So Shittamani Tara and Vajrayogini are, I can't remember the specifics, but they actually more exist alone in their tantra. I mean, they're usually a single deity that you see. And for those 2 empowerments, you need to have a highest yoga tantra 2-day empowerment in order to take those 2. They're kind of part of other systems, and I can't think of the other reason of why those don't qualify. But you do need a highest yoga tantra initiation before you could take one of those and practice that.
So I cannot just take like Shittamani Tara, for instance, alone. I have to have another one even.
What I would do is ask the center if they can check with the Lama or the attendant, because all these questions will be asked a million times. When I was running centers, these are the questions we always got. So I would always ask the attendant, who would check with the initiating teacher and just say, can somebody show up that wants to just take this, which you could get it as a blessing on that level. And then certainly when you say the mantra of Tara, it's a little bit stronger, but usually it's up to the teacher giving the initiation.
Do you give Shittamani Tara initiations?
I do not. No. I do not give any initiations. I do give refuge and can give precepts like that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I just did that. It's interesting. I just did that retreat last summer. So I've been wanting to do that for a long time. Beautiful retreat. Yeah. And then here's another tip. Very good. When you start to get any empowerments or subsequent permission, it's called a Jainang. Jainang's like a blessing. So they might give the Chenresig as a blessing, a Jainang. So there's a Wang, which is a full empowerment, W-A-N-G, or a Jainang, which means subsequent permission. Both are nice, but the highest yoga tantra will be given at the level of a Wang, an empowerment or initiation. And what was I going to mention as a subsequent blessing? So it's very nice also just to take a blessing of something, but also check about requirements. check about commitments. And then what you can do is in your computer, okay, keep a list of what you took.
Yeah.
And keep a list of the commitments. And I have it all down. Initiations is one level. And then I have lungs, which are oral transmissions, where somebody gave me several times the oral transmission of the 3 principles of the path, which is a text by Lama Tsongkhapa. So then I know I can teach that. I got the transmission, then it's a little stronger for me to teach that. I got the transmission of this, so I can then teach that. I've done some meditation on that. So I can, you know, so it's nice to know. And the reason is, some years that you get these initiations, you know, I had my list, and then I was about to do a serious tantric retreat, and I had all these preparations and it was flying over to Laudo in Nepal and going up to the mountains. I made all these preparations, but a couple of weeks before I left the States to go over to do it, it was a 4 to 5 month retreat I was that I was setting up, is suddenly I had this thing of like, did I have the initiation? Because you can't really do these retreats properly without having that connection, that empowerment. And so I checked and I went back to my list and I was like, bing, there it is. Yes, I have that one. You know, so it's very good to help because we know as we get older, we can't remember anything anymore, right? So that can be very helpful. So and you can even write little details of, some people might have in the highest yoga tantra, there's certain little rituals that happen that you might want to just keep track, little notes that you can put on the computer under that. A question in the room, please.
My question is not relevant anymore. It's okay.
Are you sure? Yeah. Was it answered or?
No, it's just not on topic, and it's okay. It's
because feel free. It's
it's really okay.
You're okay. Okay, please.
Yeah, I have a question about you about the notion of effort you emphasize, and I have a little more background in Christian mysticism, and in that tradition they emphasize that there is a certain place of effort, but you have to, in some sense, escape the egoic effort to be freed from oneself. So in striving for enlightenment, you can also be very attached to yourself. Mm-hmm. So how to, if we have all these vows, if all these, this whole system of things you can achieve in a way, how do you escape that it becomes a project of the self you're trying to lose?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I know His Holiness, I've heard him say a few times, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, when you say, well, if I am trying to get enlightened, and I've had friends that were doing extensive years of retreat and at different times with breaks, but in order to get into retreat, you need certain positive conditions, and it's very hard sometimes. So we're going to have a weekend city retreat this weekend, and then there'll be one in Lunan, and I lead some other shorter retreats. But even that, I've met people where they're all ready to go, and then their dog gets sick, you know, and they go, oh no, I can't go now. Like obstacles will arise, and I've been, you know, fortunate to do a few months retreat at a time, several times, and it's hard to get that space in my life, and all these little obstacles, you know, whether you're getting a plane fare to fly over to this place or finding and getting the money together to do it, and you're not going to be working. And so all these events will unfold. And I've had friends in multi-year retreats. And so in order for them to get into it, they've seemed quite selfish in a way of like all these other things, they weren't available. They weren't doing this even with distant extended family. They didn't have kids or anything like that. And so His Holiness sometimes says, if your motivation's really good, that you're doing it to further yourself quickly to enlightenment for the benefit of all living beings, he said, then be selfish like that. Like you know that sometimes you're just going to have to quiet the rest of the program and say, I'm sorry. You know, sometimes my family had trouble. My mother would be like, why do you have to go to the other side of the world? And, you know, you're spending 3 or 4 months there. Why can't you spend 3 to 4 months with me? Okay, because that time I didn't feel like it was as beneficial, and it wasn't what my teachers were advising. So again, I don't lose that bigger motivation. That's what keeps everything balanced, that it's not just about me.
Okay.
Does that make sense? That
yeah, it makes sense, but I have a follow-up question because to be honest, if I investigate my own motivations, they're not so pure as I like them to be. They're more focused on getting rid of my suffering than on the suffering of everyone else. That's for that's a later problem, to be honest.
yeah.
In my mind, but that's the.
Then I would just quote. I'm going to quote Lama Zopa Rinpoche here. You have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere, right? What are you going to do? Say, well, my motivation's really not pure, so I guess I won't practice Dharma. And I'll just engage in worldly things like everybody else. And we have to start somewhere. You know, because of our basic confusion from ignorance, everything we think, say, do is all tainted. I'm aware of that myself. I'm a Buddhist nun. I'm not perfect. I'm not a holy person.
Not a Buddha yet.
Not a Buddha yet. I'm a Buddhist, not a Buddha, but I'm trying. And this is what I know how to do with the advice from my teachers, trying to do the best thing. But I look at my self-cherishing. I look at where it's coming from, you know, but I'm trying my best. You know, every morning I wake up with a good motivation. I try to rekindle and reestablish that motivation as much as I can through the day to make sure that's all I can do. You know, but to go back to just a worldly madness, I can't do that. And that feels like selling out. That feels like, what about all the living beings I want to help? It feels like I can't let people, I don't want to let people down like that. So you just muddle along like everyone else. And then suddenly little things start unfolding, you start to see. And that's why Lama was also saying about, we're so distracted. There's so many incredible, desirous, wonderful things out there that dazzle us. So, and the progress on the path, it takes ages if we don't see the progress. But please look back. If you've been at this for a year, look back at your mind a year ago. There's changes. Some people have been in it 5 years. Changes in your mind? Have you noticed? You're better, Yenny?
Yeah, of course.
Of course, you know, you see, but it took. So I asked people, because we want, especially my culture, the States, people want their enlightenment 2 weeks ago in a nice little silver box. Here you go. That's not realistic. But I do ask people, go back a year ago. I know these students there. I see progress in them. But we needed instantly delivered enlightenment. It's just not like that. So go the distance. Go the distance. And little things will surprise you about your mind. You're a little bit kinder. You just keep working on it. And use that self-cherishing to say, wow, okay, so how can I turn this motivation? You know, just using some people in your initial field of view of people that you know that are struggling right now. Could be family members. And maybe I just say, today I'm dedicating for her. She can't be able to teach in Amsterdam, you know, or be here, or she's never going to be able to travel again because of her health. So I'm going to dedicate today. I'm going to think about her and do as many activities as I can to, you know, help me get enlightened so I can really help her and share some of these teachings with her. You know, we just kind of try to break it down like that. It's hard to conceive of all living beings. That's a lot. So let's make it personal then to start. Yeah. Then we're a little bit more motivated. You know, I want to help my mom, I want to help my dad or my brother or sister, or, you know, even your dog and cat. Okay. But like, make it like that so that we see people struggling on the street out here sometimes like that. And then try, and then a little bit, you know, this was my own beginning when I started in the Dharma. I was living in Washington, D.C., working in politics, believe it or not. Okay, that's why I'm a nun now. More meaningful path. But I would get on the bus and I would take the bus to work, and then you're on the bus and you got a good seat. I have my book and this is comfortable, right? Then somebody gets on one of the stops and they clearly need the seat more than I do. So I'd notice my mind that didn't want to give up the seat. Well, I'm comfortable. I got a really good seat this morning, but then I'd kind of go, as I sit here, and I just notice not feeling great about hanging on to the seat. And, you know, so these are little exercises. And then I'll go, all right, let's get up and give the seat get it up. They're happy to sit down. Okay, it's a little inconvenient for me. I have to stand. I can't read. And okay, but I get off the bus. How do I feel? I feel better. I'm happy I gave them. They were really happy to get the seat, you know, and then slowly you work until one day it's automatic. See them get on, you just give up your seat. That's how it works. But you have to keep practicing. The mind gets exercise too. Mind needs to practice. You know, how do you feel keeping the seat? I feel a little guilty personally, like that. You know, and the other day, this just happened to me the other day where I got a good seat, right? And there I was. And then a woman, now it's a little, what's funny for me, and I was just laughing with my brother. So I look a little younger than I actually am, is what people tell me, okay? So there's sometimes somebody that gets on public transportation that may be much younger than me, but they look much older than me. Okay, so this woman got on the other day and she's talking to a friend right near my seat. And I looked at her and I was like, she's talking to her friend. She looks older than me. I don't know, you know, but then I decided, I was like, let me offer her the seat because she can talk to her friend. And so I did right away. I said, please, you know, and she right away, she said, no, I'm fine to. So you don't know, maybe they let you keep the seat, you know, but I really meant it. I really wanted her to have the seat. And I started to get up. She's like, no, you just, you know. So you have to keep checking the mind like that, I feel. Okay, we're out of, are we out of time? Are you kidding me? Oh my God, we have a lot more to do. Okay, next week, don't miss it next week. So I want to just, before we finish, and then we're going to do some closing prayers, is, did we get every, yeah, okay, we got all the questions for now. Is three principles of the path: renunciation, bodhicitta, and emptiness. You need that basic, those are common preliminaries. Like, am I ready to take Tantra? If you don't know what those are, okay, renunciation again is turning away from suffering. That's when I'm giving up my suffering. Mental, physical, internal, external, that's what I'm giving up. It's a process though. It's a process. So you have to start understanding what causes the suffering. Buddhism says delusion and karma. That's what causes the suffering. So what I can do is notice every time my mind is out of balance and a delusion shows up. I mentioned a number of them before. Anger, attachment, fear, jealousy, pride, doubt, depression. I think you get the idea. Laziness. You know, this is when my mind is not really firing in the most wholesome way that it could. Okay. Why is it there? Due to karmic imprints of those exact same things happening from fundamental ignorance or confusion. Okay, that's all that's happening. Okay, so what I want to do is, through other courses and reading and things like that, learn what are the antidotes to those different things. But when I mention that list, there's many more on the list, but one or two probably popped up for you and you go, oh, that's me. I do that one, or that's my thing. Then find out what are the antidotes. Those are other classes. What are the antidotes to those? Start applying them in meditation, the internal practice, and start working on it externally when you're in the world. Notice what made you angry. You know, little levels of anger are frustration, annoyance, irritation. So can you catch it there to understand what's going on, right? Can I catch my attachment to things and notice attraction to people and over embellishment of them that really, they don't exist that way at all. So these are where we start chipping away and working on it. Karma and delusion. So how do I suffer? What happens in our terms, we don't really suffer physically much in our world system. Like people, you know, carrying bricks all day in their head in India, not India. We don't have that kind of life. We struggle with inner turmoil, mental turmoil, so much in our culture. So you want to look at how can I dismantle that? Would I like to give up having this, you know, this type of mental illness in a way? Delusion is like that, a mental imbalance. They also call it afflictive emotion in minds. And then bodhicitta, what about the good heart? How do I feel when I really try to think about somebody else before myself? Okay, occasionally when that gets activated, how does that feel? See how that feels. And then any understanding you have of emptiness, what does that mean to you? Or what do you need to learn about that? Okay, very profound part of our conversation. And then there's uncommon preliminaries we're going to talk about next week and finish. There's not quite enough in 3 sessions to get through it all, but just giving you an overview. And then what's really helpful is, and I just saw Annalise today, who teaches the Monday Night Discovering Buddhism classes, is she'll eventually be teaching an introduction to Tantra in a longer rollout. And then you could study, and then you can always study it again and again, and you get more and more every time. Lama Yeshe has a book called Introduction to Tantra. I would highly recommend. Really, really helpful book that anybody can read at any level. So really, really helpful as well as reading a book called The Three Principles of the Path, like that. We're going to go back to our prayers to conclude with dedication prayers. Thank you so much for everybody's time and questions. And not that one. Where are the prayers I just brought up? Here we go. No. Oh yeah, everybody okay. Okay. So whatever merit or positive energy we've created from this time together, can we invest it? Can we dedicate it to our being able to really understand Tantra more and more by building a firm foundation in the philosophy of this tradition or another tradition that works? Some of them are very similar. And from that, be able to find an authentic teacher that can bring me into tantric empowerment if it's something I want to do. And that may I be able to use those practices to really pacify my mind in a most positive way, but that will help me through the practices get enlightened quickly to benefit all living beings. May whatever virtue I've collected benefit the teachings and all transmigratory beings, and may it especially cause the essence of perfect, pure Losang Drakpa's teachings to shine forever. Short mandala offering. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon, I imagine as a Buddha land and offer it. May all transmigratory beings enjoy this pure land. Idam Guru Radha Mandala Kamyarata Yami. Ogewadi Nyoduda Lama Sangye Drugyone Drowa Chikyang Malupa Dei Sala Uparsho. Due to this virtue, may I quickly become a Guru Buddha and lead all transmigratory beings without exception to that state. Jangju Sanjo Rinpoche, Ma Ke Panam Ke Gyurche, Ke Panyam Pa Me Pa Yi, Gone Gone to Belwarsho. May the precious Supreme Bodhicitta not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. And as Rinpoche likes for us to dedicate with emptiness, whatever understanding we have of emptiness. Due to all the past, present, and future merits collected by me, the numberless Buddhas and the numberless sentient beings, which are completely empty of existing from their own side, may I, who am completely empty of existing from my own side, achieve the state of full enlightenment, which is completely empty of existing from its own side, and lead all sentient beings who are completely empty of existing from their own side to that state which is completely empty of existing from its own side, by myself alone, who am completely empty of existing from my own side. the long life prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. We'll do this first one. Incomparably kind, Supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And this for the swift return prayers for Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Hi, Rinpoche. And this one was written by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Fearless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang, father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. This is victorious Losang. Losang Drapa is another name for Lama Tsongkhapa, and he often appears with his two disciples, an older disciple and a younger disciple. Gyaltsab J and Kedrup J. And that is our lineage. Lama Tsongkhapa lived from about 1347 to 1419 and founded Ganden Monastery, which is being rebuilt outside of Lhasa today after the communist Chinese destroyed it. And there is another Ganden Monastery reestablished in South India, a thriving monastery that when the Indians gave the land for the Tibetan refugees, and they've established the big monasteries there in the south that you can visit. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings you suddenly departed to peace, what a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Thank you, everyone. Lovely to see all of you and hope to see you next week. If not at this weekend, there's a there's a city retreat on death and rebirth that will be focused on a really profound text by Kyabji Pabonko Rinpoche, Heart Spoon. So we're going to kind of deepen the whole death experience. We're taking it to a little bit deeper level than the standard course I think I taught before. So if you want to get a little sense of that, that's this weekend. And then Tuesday and Wednesday night, I think, are my last classes for this visit. And then I'm back in September, October, or in Lunan in June. You can join our weekend retreat there. Or follow some of the other programs I'm doing in Europe and the UK, like that. Thank you so much. Be happy. And so again, that meditation of the grounding, the spaciousness, try to remember whatever you remember, try to do a little bit of that. It's really helpful. And I think there were some readings associated with this you can find in the OneDrive, thing like that. And I can't remember what else I had asked people to think about this week, but please enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.